What's good, you guys? It's Deexypher. Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you guys are here. Today we're going to do something a little different than we've been doing. This is Producers React. We're going to be doing an album review. These are going to become kind of a new feature to my channel. It's something I've done a couple of in the past, but I want to get back into doing these because I just really like doing them. I've always enjoyed doing this. I really like turning you guys on to new music, giving you my thoughts on new music. So, yeah, let's get into this, guys. Also, make sure you stick around to the end. I got a special surprise coming up for you. So, alright, guys, here we go. So, guys, the album we're talking about today is this one, Daddy's Home, the new album from St. Vincent. If you guys haven't heard it yet, make sure you click over to your streaming services, check the album out. It's a really great album. It really is. I'm not even going to lie about that. It's a really, really great album. And we're going to go ahead and get into why and what I thought of Jack Antonoff's production on this. You know, his and Annie's production together. There's some really, really stellar songs on here. I wish I could say every one of them is killer, but it does feel like there's a little filler on the album too. We're going to start by talking about the first single that got released, which we've all, I'm sure, probably heard, called Pay Your Way in Pain, which is easily the most recognizable and reminiscent of what we know as the St. Vincent sound. It's got those very heavy tape-delayed drums. It's got, Annie's strange little ad-libs thrown all over, moving guitars, hard pan guitars, a lot of things that were used in the Mass Seduction album, the Actor album, and especially the St. Vincent album. She did a lot of hard panning guitars and tape delaying her drums and stuff on that album, so that was really cool to hear make a comeback. I really liked Pay Your Way in Pain. I thought it was a really great track. I had no complaints about that. In fact, when I heard that song, I was... How do I put this? I was more ecstatic for the album than I was when I heard The Melting of the Sun. And I'll get into why that was in a minute. I felt like when I heard Pay Your Way in Pain, like this was going to be Annie kind of taking on the 70s from kind of this angle, like a 45-degree entrance. Like she wasn't just going to walk straight into it. She was going to kind of jump somewhere in between it. And she did in her own way. But I don't know, I guess I expected more. Or I guess I expected more angularity to it. Annie's been such an angular person with her career all her life that I really thought she would have more angularity to it. But I grasp what she's trying to do in this album too, which is the other part of it. So now the next track on the album is Down and Out Downtown, which is not at all what I'd call filler. I mean, it honestly was one of the better songs on the album. And that's not to say the album's bad again. I mean, it's just that some of the songs, like I said, some of them were kind of filler, and some of them were really killer. Down and Out Downtown was definitely a killer one. And the reason I thought Down and Out Downtown was such a great track was that it referenced what Annie talked about in her masterclass, which was songs need epiphanies. They have to go somewhere. And if a song doesn't have an epiphany and it doesn't have a jumping point to start from, then it can't go anywhere. So, like, Down and Out Downtown starts out talking about a train ride back, heels from last night in your hands, da 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 da, all this stuff. And it's basically kind of an autobiographical story of Annie and the girls that she's grown up loving who have done the whole walk of shame back through downtown New York and carried last night's heels with their hair a mess and last night's clothes, and the walk of shame. Everybody's done the walk of shame. I've done it. We've all done it. It happens. Um, so that's kind of what Down and Out Downtown starts off talking about, is this girl on the walk of shame and how she's sort of just down and out. I mean, nothing's really going on right for her. Nothing's really going great. So she's just kind of down and out, living in downtown New York and doing the walk of shame and all that. So, yeah, like I said, Down and Out Downtown's a really great one. I really liked, I really, really, really liked the production on the drums of this one, because the way that there's a certain subtlety to the drums and how they swing and they flow back and forth. It's like if Antonoff set the drums here, okay, it's like he's taken the tape and manipulated it in such a way that it just swings to the right and the left of it, just a little bit of the drum kit, so it fills out and opens that space up. As Curtis King would say, it puts some lotion on it. So yeah, I really like that one. And then let's see, moving on here, I've got a list of the songs and notes about them here. That's what I'm looking at. Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home is actually the song about Annie's dad getting out of prison, coming home. And it's also about her. She's on this whole daddy energy thing, and I don't really know what that means. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know what that means. But Daddy's Home has just tremendous production work on it. It's got guitars that are hard panned to the right hand side. It's got vocals that sit just in the left bank while Annie's vocals sit right in the middle. The drums are kind of loose and jazzy. They're played very sporadically around all the instrumentation and everything else. There's some percussion that they've glued to just like spots on each side that's incredible. Sorry. And I really just love the way the production was done on this. So then our next song would be Live at the Dream. Live at the Dream is, or Live at the Dream, I'm sorry. Right? Am I reading that right? Live in the Dream. Sorry. Let me get that right. Live in the Dream. Definitely has a very psychedelic, tripping kind of feel. I don't really know another way to put it, unfortunately, but that's just kind of how it feels. It's got a very, like, you just dropped and you're kind of coming on the come up there. Like, it's all that dreamlike phase around you, how everything feels really loose and light, and the whole song takes on a very airy kind of a feel, very loose, light, coming up, building, and then it just builds into this amazing Hendrix-esque solo at the end, and just absolutely incredible. It shows Annie's guitar playing really well. Alright, so now we're at The Melting of the Sun, which is, like I said earlier, a song that made me start to get a little worried about this album. Mainly because it's not that it's a bad song, it's just not what I expected. I mean, it's an earworm, don't get me wrong. Like, that whole, it's just the melting of the sun. The way she does that is such an earworm. It'll get caught in your brain and you'll be singing it 4 or 5 hours later, which is the ideal goal. I didn't like the production so much on this one, though. I think that's the big part of it. It just felt kind of there. It was like, here's a track that sounds psychedelic, that wants to be psychedelic, but it's just kind of here. It's not really anything specific. And that to me was kind of a big detractor, that there was like this song that could have been more but was just there. Then we have the humming interludes, which I'm not going to talk about. There's 3 of them on this album, and I really can't figure out why she put these on the album. I mean, and Annie, I love you. If you see this, I love you, Annie, but I don't know why you put the humming tracks on here. That was just strange to me. You know, they're like 30 to 40-second tracks of Annie just kind of humming and making phonetic noises and stuff. I don't know if maybe this is just her way of trying to become more comfortable with letting out her early processes, you know, now that she's done a master class, or if there's some kind of story behind the humming, but I really didn't get it. Um, so we have The Laughing Man as the next track here, and I love, love the writing on this track. The whole chorus line of if life's a joke, then I'm dying laughing is genius. It's just, it shows Annie's genius. It really does. Um, it's another one that's got a very Hendrixy kind of feel on it. Maybe even a little King Crimson esque, Frank Zappa, that style stuff. It's got a it's got a very airy kind of production, like much like um, Spanish Castles. Um, or I'm sorry, not Spanish Castles. When Cries Mary. When Cries Mary by Jimi Hendrix. Like those opening chords, they come in with that dum dum dum, and there's a lot of air on those. They're really wide open, like a lot of feeling there. There's a lot of open space to let those chords resonate, and that's kind of how the laughing man is like there's a lot of open space around these chords, around all the instruments, and it really creates for this massive track that, like, within the headphones moves back and forth left to right all the time, and it's incredible. Then we come to Down, which was the most recent single. If memory serves, I think she released this like 2 days before the album dropped. Like, it was really, really close. And Down, Down's like my favorite one on this album by far. Down is an absolute, just, it's blue-eyed plastic soul with a modern approach. It's I feel like if you took this song and really broke it down to its core, it's a lot of tricks and things that were used by Bowie during the Young Americans album. Maybe even some of the um, even the Station to Station stuff. You know, he was still using a lot of that plastic blue-eyed soul trick and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of really cool groove, a lot of open maneuverment with the tape delay of the drums. Really funky guitars, really funky kind of almost like Parliament Funkadelic meets like David Bowie. Like if P Funk did a version of Young Americans, it's a lot like that. And I really like Down. Down was by far and away my favorite one of these. Um, I've got notes taken on these last few here. All right, so we have another humming interlude that comes in. Then a song called Somebody Like Me. There's not a lot I can say on Somebody Like Me. It really just wasn't a song that jumped like out at me. It didn't really stick in my brain in any way, shape, or form. It was another one of those tracks that was just kind of there, like some filler. And the production was good, but it was another track that was just kind of there, kind of like the melting of the sun felt like, oh, well, let's fill the space, you know. I mean, and that's just my opinion. These songs really could mean something more than what I take them as to Annie, and if that's the case, then great, good for you. I just, subjectively to me, I didn't see it. But these last ones I really, really liked, though. So, the last three tracks on this album are called My Baby Wants a Baby, At the Holiday Party, and Candy Darling. Now, the production value on these is a little different because these are a different style of track. These are a little more straightforward, pulled down, instrumentated tracks. You've got elements of steel guitars and stuff coming back in here. You've got lots of pianos, things of that nature. Um, and I want to talk about My Baby Wants a Baby. First off, it's immediately recognizable as a Sheena Easton interpolation. It starts with this, like, my baby wants a baby type thing, and it's very reminiscent of 9 to 5 by Sheena Easton. Um, but it's a lot slower. It's done on a very, like, delicate piano type setting. Kind of like almost like Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, stuff like that. And I feel like there's a really big like Joni Mitchell vibe on this album. In fact, the melting of the sun. One thing I will give it is the words are amazing, because she even mentions Saint Joni ain't no phony, smoking cigarettes while furries sang the blues. Talking about Joni Mitchell, I mean that's incredible. The next one on here is Holiday Party. And Holiday Party was the first song that I heard that really jumped out and said, that's got a Joni Mitchell feel. Um, it's a really simple song. Like I said, there's not a lot of over the top production on these last few. It's a really simple song, a few instruments, and Annie's voice really delicate, right in the spot. It works so well. And I really liked Holiday Party. That was a really, really great one. And then this last one that finishes out, well, there's a third humming interlude that finishes the tracks, but this is the last actual song. It's called Candy Darling, and Candy Darling was another just absolute amazing song. It was very like the first Velvet's album, like Velvet Underground and Nico type feel. There was a lot of Lou Reed type feels in it, and the way that chords moved, the way that production was done, the way that words flowed, things of that nature. But at the same time, it had this very folk kind of feel to it, like a Nico, a Joni Mitchell, a Joan Baez, somebody of that nature. Maybe even a Linda Ronstadt or a Carole King. And but it like I said, it's such a weird combination because even though it sounded like them, it has this very New York Lou Reed kind of thing to it. And that's one thing I will definitely say about this whole album. It is very, very New York. You know, it's a very New York sounding album. A lot of Patti Smith reminiscent type stuff, just very New York style. So, all right, guys. So that's the review of Daddy's Home and breakdown production wise, what I thought track by track, all that good stuff. Um, I'm going to go ahead and rate the album overall. I would say that overall, I'd give this album 4 out of 5 stars. It's a solid album. It's You're not going to find me listening to Daddy's Home near as much as you would say like Mass Seduction, the St. Vincent album, Actor, Love This Giant with David Byrne. I mean, you're not gonna hear me listen to Daddy's Home near as much as those albums, but that's because there was something about those albums that really brought me into the whole thing. It kind of drew it all together. Like, I really like weird music. In fact, the album I found St. Vincent out about through was the album called Love This Giant with David Byrne. And I'm a huge David Byrne fan. So when I saw David Byrne working with this girl, I'm like, well, who is this girl? You know, kind of a weird looking little guitar player chick. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. Who is she? So I looked into her and I found Actor and a couple other albums that she had. And I'm like, hey, this is really, really cool. I like this stuff. Then Mass Seduction came out and I was hooked. I mean, that album is just incredible. So this one takes a bit of a different approach. You know, I finally understand what Annie meant when she said I had taken Angular as far as I could. It was her way of telling us like, hey, this album is a straightforward, more heads-on approach. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's a good album. It really is. 4 out of 5 stars. It's a good album. But it's just not at that, like, this is what I expected, and right here is what I got. It's just a little bit below what I really, really wanted, you know? Um, I guess I guess the easiest way to put it is I wanted more Bowie, New York. Like Bowie, Lou, Debbie Harry, that kind of New York. Not so much the earlier part of New York. You know, coffee houses and things of that nature, Greenwich Village, all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm Deexypher. This has been fun. As always, it's your world. Pay attention. Take care of yourselves. And I got a special surprise for you. Did you guys know that Pop Punk Guitars Volume 2 is out now? And starting today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll be able to use the code DADDY and get 20% off your entire order in the BeatStars page on sample packs. So you guys make sure you jump over there and grab that. So that's today the 17th through the 21st. Use code DADDY and you'll get 20% off your entire purchase when you buy sample packs on the Beat Store. Alright guys, I'm Deexypher. I will see you next time. Take care.